talking to myself. I feel like it helps me feel sane. So, um,
interesting. I'll take it.
so,
you know what, to be fair, like as a mom, you're always talking to your baby and they don't really understand what you're saying. So it is kind of an insane behavior, but I like to assume he's learning things.
so what's it like being a mom and everything?
It's so cliche to say, but like it's obviously really challenging, but so rewarding. And I always would look at that and I'm like, oh, I'm so annoyed with people saying it's a challenge, but it's rewarding. But that's really the only best way to describe it. Like my husband and I talk about it all the time. We couldn't imagine a life without our son. Do we have sleepless nights? Or do we have to deal with screaming sometimes and poop all over the floor? Absolutely. Do we love every minute of it? Actually, yes. Like genuinely, it is so rewarding. Couldn't imagine a life without my son. Love being a mom. Love it.
Wow, that's like really awesome. And you're young. You're
I'm 25. Yeah.
Nice. Wow. So,
but you know what? Lots of people, like I get people are really pushing it back. And unfortunately, that's just a result of our culture, really, how jobs are happening, how people have to like do tons of university before they can even start their careers. And it has to be like a double income home now for people to even be able to afford rent. So I understand why people are pushing it back. But it is definitely like I'm really excited for the fact that when my son is in his teen years, like my husband and I are still going to be able to run around and play soccer with him. And we're still going to be very energetic and be able to, you know, be with it and be with it when we have grandchildren one day. I think that's a really awesome thing. But I also, you know, that's no judgment to people who have kids when they're older, because unfortunately that's just where our culture is at.
yeah. Do you feel like it's like that more in Australia? Like I know American culture compared to European culture tends to be more family oriented, but do you feel like Australia might be even more? Or
What do you mean? Like Australia is more family oriented, or?
I mean, so this is kind of autistic, but my boyfriend and I were recently looking at like the fertility rates in like every country.
I've done the same thing. I'm like really into that. I have to suppress it when I talk to normal people, like bringing up random statistics.
Yeah, they're like, and we just, I mean, it becomes like second nature. We just refer to it as the V and the triangle, and people are like, "What V and triangle? Like, what are you talking about?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, it's supposed to be like a healthy triangle." But so in like the idea is that in like, you know, Europe is like dying because people just aren't having kids, and they're not, but it's part of like a bigger cultural thing. They're just not interested in family as much.
Well, here's the thing. Like, yeah, European culture really influences Western culture. I'd say like America is usually like 10 years behind Europe, maybe a little more or less. And then Australia is about 15 years behind Europe. So 5 to 10 years behind America when it comes to kind of becoming more and more progressive, less family oriented, all these things. But still, even here in Australia, which tends to be a more conservative leaning country, the average rate or age that a woman has her first child is 31 for Australia. And once again, I actually don't even think that has much to do with anti-family stuff anymore, because of course there is a lot of attacks on the traditional family, the nuclear family, but it's just not feasible anymore. The economic situation, the work situation, all of it have made it not very feasible to you know, have a kid young.
Yeah, I know I don't feel comfortable having kids until I feel like financially stable. And like, so I get it also. I wish it wasn't so hard to just, you know,
and you know, you'll have internet people judge and be like, just do it. You can work it out. You can figure it out. But no, not when people aren't financially stable and they have kids. That's a stressor on the relationship. That's a stressor on, you know, once you're in a hole and you've got a kid and you're already not financially stable, that just adds more pressure, makes it more difficult for you to get to work, to get raises, to like pursue and uplift your career. And then the options of having more kids are lesser. People, it's very easy to judge and tell people what to do on the internet, but less easy to play that out in real life.
Do you feel like also part of it is that our culture is so coddling of kids? Like you just have to have everything perfect and just like wiping your kid until they're like 12. And maybe it wasn't like that involved in the past.
Sorry, could you explain that again?
So
I was looking at the chat and I was like I just realized there was a chat on the side and I completely zoned out from what you were saying.
Oh,
go ahead.
Oh yeah, that's distracting. You could like exit it if you want, like flip the tab or something. You can also, by the way, you can like respond to people in the chat if you want. We can also put, I don't know if you can do it from your end, but we can get the comments on the screen. So you know, if you want.
I have no idea how to do that. I don't know. I'm a boomer when it comes to streaming programs. I just tried to stream for the first time on my Subscribe Star for my members there because I was showing them little previews of the documentary. And I guess I downloaded like, because you know how you have like the screen around here that's purple and stuff? I downloaded one of those and it was like a gamer screen instead of a documentary previewing screen. So I'm like sitting there in the corner and it's got like a sniper and like gamer stuff all over. And they're like, what is happening, Lauren? I don't know. I don't know.
That's so cool. Wait, so is your movie coming out, Crossfire?
Never, ever. I've lost it. If you see it anywhere, let me know. I've put up lost posters. I've checked the pound. No, it is coming out very, very soon. So what we're actually doing, it's like, the problem is the perfect has become the enemy of the good. We've got a full documentary, but then keep watching it through again and again. And it's like, oh, change the font here, cut out 6 seconds from this section. Actually, one thing we just did that I really like is we added 5 different acts to the movie because it's actually a 2-hour massive film. Who knew? Policing and Black Lives Matter and crime in America and Antifa was a big subject that took a lot of time to discuss. But we've, much like a Quentin Tarantino movie, we've like separated it into acts and parts. So like part 1 is Once Upon a Crime in America, and we go through all the history of how we got to where we are today with the situation with police. And then we start unpacking everything going on today, go through all the arguments that the left have made, Black Lives Matter have made, and then we unpack it from the side that you don't usually see from the mainstream media. But there you go, 2-hour film. We just added those title cards, and it should be out before Christmas, though. So that's the one good thing.
Oh, nice. That's like next week.
I know. It's really coming up.
So exciting. I'm so honored that you like agreed to come on here and it's right before Crossfire comes out.
It's been a busy week, but making it happen. Make sure you guys watch this space. It's a hell of a project. I think it's really going to surprise a lot of people. The things we were willing to talk about and also just what we were able to achieve, because I got way less. Obviously, I disappeared for a year, and this is another thing with having kids. It's absolutely detrimental to your career, just disappearing for a year to have a baby. I didn't have any of the subscribers I had before. Didn't have, Patreon, Subscribe Star, my own website donations. Everyone had kind of forgotten who the hell I was when I came back, so I got like no donations for this project. Shoestring ass budget in the red. Made it happen anyways. I don't even know how, but yeah, it's a hell of a project for the shoestring budget we did it on. It won't even look like it was on a shoestring budget.
Whoa. Are you going to charge for this film?
I always do my films free, which is stupid and probably why I don't have money to do my next projects. But the point of them, like the reason I do them and what I promise people who donate to the creation is that as many people will see it as possible. That's the point. I don't want people to watch Crossfire that are just the kind of people that would pay to see it. I want people to be able to send it to that aunt and uncle that they've had disagreements with on the BLM and cops issue at the dinner table and say, listen, it's free to watch it, and then we can have a discussion. You don't have to pay for it, nothing. I want to get your thoughts. To send it to that friend who's on the edge, skeptical, wants more information. I want people to be able to share this project because, it's, first of all, it's really, there's not much conservative kind of not even conservative, just anti-mainstream narrative content out there that is done in an artistic way, something that captures your attention. It's mostly just rants and data and so many think tanks pumping stuff out. But I'd say most of the liberal most of the population, in fact, not even political population, are more motivated by emotion. We always say facts don't care about your feelings, but feelings don't really care about our facts. And both things are actually just as important as each other. We care about facts. We care about changing the world because of our feelings, because we feel love for our community. We feel love for our family. We feel patriotism. We feel anger towards crime. It's emotions that actually invest us in politics. And when we don't, Stalin had that statistic or that quote about statistics where he said one death is a statistic, or a million deaths is a statistic and one is a tragedy, because we can actually comprehend one death. You have to make people understand why they need to care about the statistics. You have to make movies and content that show them, you know, this person's life that was impacted by crime. What was it like being them? Let's feel the emotion. This is why Farmlands was so powerful. You got to actually step into the life of someone who had their entire family murdered, who had to clean the skin of a boiled boy off the side of a bathtub, a 12-year-old child. And people watch that and they're like, holy crap. All I saw were posts on Twitter saying there's a lot of murder going on in South Africa. I didn't know it was like this. I didn't see the emotion, see people's tears and their hearts pour out, and their children, you know, and their property, all these things. You have to show people why the statistics matter. You can't just have all these think tanks talking all day about numbers, numbers, numbers. No, you need real human stories. And that's what Crossfire is about. And that's also why Crossfire is free. We need more of that in the world. Otherwise, we're never going to be able, we're going to be talking past each other. One people are going to be having a statistic conversation. The other are going to be having a conversation of emotion and feelings. And I truly believe both are just as important as each other.
Nice. And I agree. I think those are the people running the culture, the people that like people see your stuff without having tried to, or like having paid for it. Also, I noticed in one of your videos, you talk about trying to get into the US and they were giving you a hard time. And this is happening while you're making a movie that it's like really important to be in the US for. So how are you able to do that? Like, did you have people on the ground?
Yeah, this was a devastating thing for me because obviously my favorite part of making these movies is getting to know the issues intimately. I want to be able to tell people when they clap back at me about immigration or the migrant crisis, I want to be able to say, oh, I didn't realize you laid down in the bushes under an olive farm tree while gendarme helicopters flew over with light searching for you, waiting for human traffickers, because I did that. And I can tell you what it's like. And I can tell you what the people on the ground were thinking. I can tell you exactly what those people did to get there, what they paid to get there, where they were from, because I was actually there. Whereas you guys are just quoting articles that agree with you. You haven't been on the ground. So I like to be able to investigate it myself, tell people the mood on the ground. Also, when you're there, it's easier to be able to, you know, put the music in the movie, tell the story properly. Unfortunately, the US wouldn't let me in, and they actually sat down and questioned me for hours and hours and hours about my past documentaries. They asked me about Farmlands, they asked me about Borderless, they asked me about my political beliefs, all of these things. And I'm like, what does this have to do with me entering the US? Like, I thought, don't you have the First Amendment here? Am I not allowed free speech? And I genuinely, it's a sad state of affairs. I mean, it's not just me. I thought this was only going to be a problem I'd face in Europe, that, you know, it's pretty far gone there. But this seems to be happening in America more and more often. It happened to Sydney Watson and Abby Yemeni. Sydney Watson being someone who is, I think her dad's a US citizen, so she has dual citizenship, and she was almost not allowed in the States. Yeah, so I had to get creative. I almost changed the documentary subject I had because I was like, no, I have to be there on the ground. But when I do a film, I like it to be about, you know, the most topical questions, the things that really aren't being addressed, that society is completely ignored and one side is not being acknowledged. So I was like, no, I can still make this happen. I spoke to Scooter. I'd worked with him briefly before years ago. He's been an absolute legend. Like, you know, we decided together the places we were going to fly him. The first day I was just like, can I fly you to Portland literally in 2 days to go film the riots there? No problem, Lauren, I'll do it. Like, just such a great guy, so brave. Set up, you know, interviews with a bunch of cops in Orlando. Can I fly you to Orlando, Scooter? No problem, I'll do it. Set up an interview with a pastor, a 10-hour drive from where he was. Can you do this tomorrow? No worries, I'll go on a road trip there tomorrow. Just a legend. And, you know, obviously I was sending him questions I wanted to be asked, and like the interview subjects and everything, so that he could, and some of them I Skyped in and asked my own questions. But man, he took so much initiative, just such a hard worker, really. You know, so normally it would be a film by Lauren Southern when I come out with Farmlands or Borderless, but this is truly a film by Lauren Southern and Scooter Downey. He put his heart and soul into this project and is an incredible worker. Once again, obviously couldn't have done it without him because I'm not allowed in the States, but absolute legend.
How did you meet him? Is he like, has he been working on films before?
Yeah, so he did Hoax with Mike Cernovich, the media manipulation documentary, great stuff. And he actually recorded me for that project. And we were in California at the time. I think it would have been like almost 4 years ago now or something crazy. And we filmed, oh, you know what he did? So I was going to try to hire him for a few things after that, but it just didn't work out. I think he got in a car crash or something happened that he wasn't able to work. But I filmed just a video in a bedroom against a white wall, and I asked Scooter to film, to edit it. And that was the video I did my ad safe makeup tutorial where I was criticizing Islam. I don't know if you've seen that one. Got me in a lot of trouble, but Scooter actually did the post-production work on that video. So that's just a little connection from the past. We did have one touch and go moment years and years ago, and it was really cool to reconnect and work on a new project together.
You had some really funny ideas. Like there was, I mean, the Islam stuff, was it you had like your face covered or something and that was the makeup thing?
No, so I think, I'm trying to remember. It was so long ago.
I remember that you became that you're.
I was just like putting like my eyeliner on, and I was like, I want it to be nice and thin, like the knife I used to slit the throats of my enemies. Like it was very offensive, but obviously that was the idea. It was using a makeup tutorial, something that is the most non-offensive thing on YouTube, to say ideas that would normally be banned. And of course, I do believe that video was eventually taken down by YouTube. It was taken down by Facebook as well. So. Sorry, guys, doesn't work. Even if you hide it in a makeup tutorial video, they're going to yeet you off the internet anyway.
So how do people, like when I see stuff like this, it kind of makes me anxious because I don't always I don't know how to filter myself sometimes the right way. And I say things that are that make people mad. How do you deal with cancel culture? How do I stop myself from getting banned from a country? But even on a smaller level, how do I remain honest while not getting in trouble? What am I supposed to do? What are people supposed to do?
You don't. You know, I am someone that has been canceled by everyone. I have been canceled by, obviously, the left, by mainstream society, by the right. When I left politics, people made up insane rumors about me with absolutely no evidence, and all these people that were completely red-pilled just ate it up and repeated it while I was gone having a baby. And I've just been canceled by everyone. And there's something very, very freeing about that, because I don't feel like I owe anyone anything. I don't feel, I don't feel any sort of loyalty to anyone not in the sense of random internet strangers. Of course, my family, my faith, all of these things that are actually important and real. But it's just very freeing. Because I'm at the point where it's like, what are you going to do for me? Ban me from your country? Are you going to spread more internet rumors about me? No one can do anything to me because I've been lied about so much. I've already had all of the social and career consequences I could get. Like, my Wikipedia page is an absolute nightmare. People have made up, literally the other day, people the New York Times reported that the Christchurch shooter donated to me. Completely fabricated. Just literally made that up and reported it. And I'm like,
I read that.
Yeah, just like crazy. And I'm like, you know what? I can, it doesn't matter. Everything terrible that can be said about me. People have said that I'm a far left spy. People say I'm a far right Nazi. It's like absurd the amount of things people believe about me. So I'm like, well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to speak the truth. I'm going to say what I believe and what I think. And the people that are sane and want to actually look past all the hysteria around me, they can listen. I've realized there's nothing I can do about the others. Nothing I can do. And here's the thing too, if people think I haven't tried to reach out to people who have lied about me, made up rumors on all sides of the political spectrum, of course I have. And what I've learned is it's not actually about the truth for them. It's about an interesting story, an interesting headline, something that will catch attention from their viewers. I've messaged leftists who have made up stories about me firing flares at innocent refugees, and I've been like, hey, like, this is untrue. Let's go through it. Can you show me the proof? Here's the actual video of what happened. Clearly, it's a handheld road flare. That's a giant boat beside me that has no one in it. The flare went into the water. There was no firing. There were no refugees. So how can you say this? And then they disappear and they ignore me. I've spoken to people on the right who have made up rumors that I work for Hope Not Hate and all of these crazy things. First of all, anyone who thinks that Hope Not Hate was secretly employing someone to make documentaries on the South African farm murder crisis and to secretly expose NGOs illegally trafficking migrants and teaching them to pretend to be Christians to get into Europe, and just completely devastating these NGOs, like, you're insane. There's no, like, I can't help you if you actually believe that. But I've like spoken to people. Sorry?
You're being a journalist. You need to talk to people.
Yeah, well, no, well, so I can actually tell you the story with that. Well, actually, I've spoken to people who have made up this rumor and been like, okay, what's the proof for that? Can we talk about that? Okay, there's this one recording that says I spoke to them from a leaked phone call. Yeah, absolutely. In 2016, 2017, when I was banned from Patreon, I was speaking to Jack Conte, and he claimed that Hope Not Hate were the ones who lobbied to get me banned from Patreon. Now, Hope Not Hate actually wanted this, or sorry, he claimed they didn't lobby, but Hope Not Hate were publicly claiming that they did lobby to get me banned from Patreon. Now, obviously, this is a big deal if Hope Not Hate is controlling who can or cannot be on the website Patreon, and they're not actually making their own decisions to ban people. So I spoke to Jack Conte on the phone a few times, and I was like, man, are you letting outside organizations decide who can and can't be on your website? And he said, no. They didn't lobby. But Hope Not Hate kept saying this. So Hope Not Hate actually wanted this to be public, that they lobbied to get me off the site, because that means they get more donors. That means they appear as a more effective far left organization. So I had a brief meeting with them. It was less than an hour in 2017 where I confronted them and I was like, so you guys lobbied Jack Conte to get me kicked off Patreon. What happened there? How are you able to do this? Trying to understand, of course, what am I going to legally pursue? What's going to go on here? They said, of course, we lobbied him. It was us who got you kicked off. Got into a huge yelling match in the bar, like so angry, never spoke again. And people took that one little bit and they're like, yep, that means she's working for them. Yep, that one meeting in 2017 where that ended in a yelling match, that means she's working for them. She's a far left spy. So just insane stuff. And I've learned that there's no point in talking to these people anymore. There's no point in trying to reason with them. Yeah.
How do you, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. I mean, there's not much else. This is the thing, like the rumors that have been spread about me on both sides of the political spectrum are so excessive that all of them contradict each other. All of them, like, one is like Lauren is secretly a neo-Nazi and the other one is like Lauren is secretly a Mossad agent, and they're all contradictory to each other. And it's so hard to keep up with all of the lies and all of the like rumors and to address them all. So actually, for people in the chat who are curious, I actually did write a whole article addressing all the rumors about me when I left. It's linked. The archive is linked below my return video in the pinned comment if you want to go read it, because it's so excessive. But I don't know if anyone's actually interested in hearing about any of this stuff.
I'll include it in
just me pulling up old grievances, I suppose.
No, I'll include it in the description of this video on YouTube. So it's okay, sorry. It's like right under the pinned video.
It's the pinned comment under my Why I'm Back video. Saying you are a Mossad agent would be awesome, said Matthew Hammond. So I was reading, like sometimes I get like crazy comments. Someone on my Instagram this morning was, here, let me find it. It was really funny. Where is this? He's like, I see, this guy's user is Mediterranean race. I see you could not keep up your scam of being an Anglo girl and finally caved to your Jewish DNA and stopped bleaching your hair so that you now look like any other Jewish. We always knew you were not what you wanted to be. I bet your Mossad employers are happy. And so all of the other comments are just repeatedly like Mossad agent. And I'm like, hey, wait, I'm trying to understand the narrative here. Is the narrative that I was secretly bleaching my hair to pretend to be Anglo because I'm actually a Mossad agent that's trying to infiltrate who knows what? So why would they be happy that I stopped bleaching my hair and blew my cover? So I really try hard to understand these narratives.
Oh man. And now I'm making it worse for you by you talking to me here.
Are you? Well, I guess I'm just going to start accepting it all. I am both a Mossad agent. I am secretly running a giant white supremacist cabal. I am also actually working for Hope Not Hate, and they are paying me to do documentaries on farm murders in South Africa. And in fact, Hope Not Hate funded Crossfire so that I could talk about the problems with BLM and Antifa. I don't know why they've been funding really right-wing stuff lately, but it's very odd. I mean, I guess we can appreciate. Like, it's just crazy. It's crazy. I can't keep up with it all.
People are bored, and I think part of it is like, I mean, you're cool. Like, you've accomplished a lot in a short amount of time, and you're young, you're pretty, you're smart, you've got like a lot happening. And so people are bored and their lives are not as fun. And so like everybody kind of needs that person to like always be talking about.
Yeah, well, I've seen, I love it. Someone created this Instagram account that's like pointing out all of the surgeries I've had. You know, when people make those accounts about celebrities, and I'm like, as much as I wish I had the celebrity money to have all these surgeries, he's like, look at her dyed hair. She's dyed her hair brown. She's not natural anymore. And I'm like, so you thought my natural hair was like the bleach blonde white. And then he's like, look at the nose job she's got and all of this. That's another rumor. Just crazy. Okay, so actually, people probably noticed I actually broke my nose when I was, what was it? I was 14 or 15 playing volleyball, and someone broke my nose with their elbow. Oh, are you still there? Yeah. And so I had a bone that was popped out of place. And years ago, I got that bone popped back into place. So no nose job, Beverly Hills, Paris Hilton stuff. And people take these little, I think it was actually Laura Loomer who spread it. She was like, Lauren Southern got a nose job and isn't telling anyone. And I'm like, why? Like, why are you saying this? Why do you care? I didn't. I had a broken nose shifted back into place. But yeah, people are so, I don't know what it is. There's such a, I see it on the left too. There's such a toxicity and an obsession with drama and an obsession to gossip. And especially when it's like based on a little bit of truth, people can really spin those ones well into something completely different.
Yeah. And some of it, like you mentioned, it's not, you can't control it. So how do you like not let it eat at you? Like if there's like some crazy person in the comments, let's say, for me, it's really distracting, which is why I sometimes turn off the comments because I can't ignore it. But how do you do that? Like, I mean, do you think that a year away helped, or did it just make you feel like you're in a cage and you can't talk?
See, that's an interesting question. So I was always told in real life, you know, if someone spreads rumors about you or drama or lies, ignore it. And that actually works in real life, because anyone you actually have to deal with or engage with, you're going to meet them in person and they're going to hear your side of the story and be like, oh, well, the other side is nonsense. And anyone you actually have to deal with, and people don't talk in person the way they do in real life. If you're going to be employed by someone, you have to meet them and talk to them. They're going to hear your side of the story. It's probably going to be fine. Anyone you have to engage with, they're going to hear your side. I thought applying that to the internet would be okay. Like, you know, no one's going to believe all the crazy stuff spread about me because there's no proof to any of it. None. Zero. There's no evidence. These people are allegedly, you know, a lot of people who follow me or follow kind of the right-wing spheres, they're evidence people. They want to see evidence before they believe things. Nah. No. That unfortunately is not the case. And something that I realized is actually if you leave a rumor online and you haven't responded to it, people will just believe, they'll believe it. They'll just go on believing it. And if there's no response, that's just what they'll go with. So leaving for a year, I probably should have responded. I probably should have. I just wanted to focus on my child and my family. And even when I came back, I was like, no, not enough people actually believe all this crazy stuff said about me. There's no proof, but a ton did. So I eventually had to write an article and address it all. But yeah, it's unfortunate people don't think a little more critically, and they don't, you know, none of the people who generally spread rumors about me or lie about me, none of them reach out and ask for my side of the story. None of them are interested in it. None of them would. So I had one guy, what's his name? His name's Sandman MGTOW. And he published this whole thing about, you know, so one of the crazy rumors that was published about me was that I slept with men to write all my content. And that was like a big thing that was published when I left. And I'm like, first of all, if you look at my videos, the most popular videos out there that I've made that have gotten the most views are all live. They're all on the ground streeters. So I'm not sure if I was like flirting with God to rewrite reality with me, but just doesn't make sense. Once again, no proof for it. The one individual that was named as having done this has publicly denied it and said it was nonsense. Yet people completely spread this. So I actually messaged the Sandman MGTOW guy because he's supposed to be in the men's rights circles. And I was like, hey, man, just so you know, what you spread is nonsense. And I think it's very hypocritical of you being someone who is against, you know, a lot of these circles always talk about how men are falsely accused of rape and get their lives and reputations ruined. And false accusations are just a horrific thing that need to be stopped. So I'm like, you've spread false accusations that there were no proof for, and will you retract them? No response, nothing. I'm like completely hypocritical. Then I sent another message basically saying like, listen, man, if you won't remove it, then like maybe I can, and you're not responding to my last comment, then I will have to go after you legally because this is just full of lies. So I'm just asking once more if you remove it. The guy then cuts out everything I've said about it being hypocritical and proof and false accusations and just cuts out the legal comment, publishes it to his page and says, Lauren Southern hates free speech and she's trying to censor me. I'm like, people are crazy. You have no values. It's all about getting clicks. It's all about never admitting you're wrong. You don't actually believe in, you know, protecting people from false accusations. You just believe in your one narrative, which is your MGTOW, women do everything wrong stuff. Like there's just no red pill to it. There's no truth to it. It's just all egotistical ranting in their own little hug box circle that, you know, they'll never admit that they're wrong. They'll never make corrections. And this goes for the mainstream media too. Obviously the mainstream media are worse because more people believe it and read it. But I kind of had a little bit of hope in my heart that alternative media were better. They're not. It's just the human condition. We love salacious stories. We love lies. We love rumors. And it doesn't really matter what the truth is at the end of the day if you can get clicks. I'd like to believe it does for some people, but I'd say 80% of the people on the internet don't actually care about doing proper investigation into anything on whatever side, right wing or left wing.
Yeah. And you mentioned in one of your videos that that, as you can see, I've been binging a lot of your videos. But anyway, and they're all awesome. And yeah. So one of the you mentioned that the right has become a little bit toxic in some ways. Or you know, maybe it's DC or like, what do you think is happening on the right? That is kind of, you think it has to do with people feeling not faithful and like a leader or something like Donald Trump or stuff like that? I don't know.
I think there's been kind of a Well, obviously, there's just like people that have no actual interest in any sort of cause or achieving anything, and their interest is more in making videos that get views, getting something salacious, getting a very clickbait headline, and you see really, really repetitive stuff where it's the same story over and over and over again. And I get it. Like, we do need to combat the constant barrage of narrative from the mainstream. So you'll see videos over and over again on why feminists suck, but we need to branch out of that sphere. The commentary wars of constantly talking about how, how leftists own the culture and the sucks, they're important to an extent, but we actually have to do things. We actually have to create our own art. We actually have to create our own movies. We actually have to, get involved in politics. We can't just talk about it online. And that's something that I have been very, very guilty, is just talking about problems repeatedly online, tweeting about problems repeatedly not online, but not actually going in person and trying to change things. And I think also there's a big problem with so much judgment of people from afar. And this is something we see on all sides of the political spectrum. Everyone has the funny comment that they make when they see leftists say, like, why didn't the cop just shoot him in the leg? Why didn't he just slingshot the gun out of his hand and give him a hug? Like, this opining on situations from a distance and saying, this is what you should have done, when that person on the ground and when their life is in danger. I can assure you, if you were in that situation, you would not be trying to slingshot the gun out of their hand and give them a hug. You would be running, stabbing, or shooting them. And I see this from the right as well. I see so many people, and I've done this too, giving advice on, this is what you do to have a good marriage. This is what you do to have the perfect relationship. Don't get tattoos. Be more trad. Like, don't talk to women or men like this. Don't be a whore. Don't talk, all sex workers are evil, this, that, and the other. And it's all this opining and listicles from people who haven't actually applied any of their stuff to their own life. Like, 90% of the trad people I interact with online are not married, don't have kids. They spend most of their time on Twitter getting mad at people for not being trad. And I'm like, you know what would be way better? If you just deleted your Twitter and started doing those things in your own life.
Yeah.
Like, that would be way better than just telling everyone else what to do all day. And once again, this is not an exclusive problem to the right, but it's always important to be able to look inward and see what problems you have on your own side. Because if you don't do that, you just descend further and further into cringe.
Yeah, I agree, by the way. And I like that you mentioned sex work, because that's something I talked about recently, is just like, when people go on like Twitter, or like when influencers are just like tweeting about how, or making videos about how like sex workers are evil. And it's like, dude, what are you, or like, sorry, about how like OnlyFans is evil. And it's like, dude, you're doing the same thing. The only difference is people on OnlyFans are getting paid, and maybe they're just like showing a little bit more cleavage or whatever, but maybe they're not actually.
Well, here's the thing too. Like, I genuinely want a culture where we have happy families, where we have happy people that don't have to, go to do sex work to make money and feel like that's something that gives them their worth and value. Like, I'm not going to be a tyrant and stop them from doing it, but you don't convince people to not live that lifestyle by telling them they are worthless and degenerate and they can no longer be in your movement because they were once a sex worker, or because they have done things that, quite frankly, are promoted all around them, and they grew up with telling them we're good and okay and fine. Everything in our culture has moved people towards, kind of meaningless sex, posting like very salacious nude photos, everything online, having very sexual relationships at a young age, taking drugs, all of these things that aren't necessarily. Every single person in our age bracket, millennial, Gen Z, is going to have had some run-in with these subjects, the vast majority anyways. People aren't being raised in hyper-Christian traditional homes telling them, you should wait till marriage, you should make sure your relationships are meaningful, and you don't have sex with every person you meet, So if we preclude and kick out and have no sympathy for people who have been brainwashed by cultural norms to believe this is okay and it's going to make them happy, well, we're going to have no one want to listen to our political beliefs. If you just cast them away and tell them they're worthless and disgusting and no one's ever going to want to marry them and be with them, you are actually, that is a self-defeating ideology. You have to have an ideology that wants to improve people, that says, hey, we know the culture is bad. We know that you grew up in a society that told you all these things were good and we're going to bring you fulfillment. And it sucks that they didn't. We want you to come here and try something different. We want you to try a life that's more built on community and family and, you know, a bit of self-restraint so that you can, because you know, freedom, people think freedom is doing whatever you want, but if you do whatever you want, if you cheat on your partner, then you won't have the freedom of a happy monogamous relationship. If you do drugs all the time, you won't have the freedom of holding down a good job because you probably won't be able to show up to work in the morning. So you actually have more freedom when you have some self-restraint, and we're not going to be able to express that ideology to people if we tell them they're broken and discarded and unworthy of conservatism or Christianity. And I think it is such a, the people who are just constantly talking about degeneracy and how, you know, all women are whores and they don't deserve rights and stuff. These are like the least traditional, least conservative people on the entire internet. They do no good for anyone. They aren't helping make the culture better. They aren't helping heal people. And they're making it so that their movement, whatever it is going to self-destruct and defeat, because every single person, I mean, if you're a Christian, you know, every single person has fallen to sin. We are all with sin. Every single person is, if you're not a Christian, just every single person has fallen to kind of the whims of modern culture. That's what we've been raised by. You can't fault people for doing things that aren't necessarily beneficial to their life when everyone told them it would be. It's, I don't know. I think there are a lot of very toxic people that are very judgmental and opining from the sidelines on what people should do and what people should have done with their life when they haven't lived that person's life.
Yeah. And yeah, and now, and, you know, like, and I try not to talk too much about like having kids and stuff, cause I don't have kids. I just have siblings, but, what do you think changed your mind the most about, or, I mean, is there anything that you really changed your mind on after you had a kid?
Yeah, well, you know, I made a lot of comments before on like what a woman should be and what a woman should do in her life and what the statistics say about these things. And I've found it's very easy to talk about statistics and what is statistically good for your life and marriage and relationship and having children. But the actual act of having a family is so much more complex, and there are so many factors that are not considered and can't even be covered in the studies, and every person is unique. And I think it's you know, if I could go back, I don't think I would have been as confident and as exact in saying what people should do with their lives in a traditional sense, because it's, I don't know, this stuff can't be summed up in listicles. This stuff can't be summed up in studies, and you really have to live it to understand it. And I literally, anyone I see, like I see on a lot of these men's rights and not men's rights, I don't want to say that. Like just more like super trad websites. They have listicles on what you should do for a perfect marriage and all this. All of that stuff, I just roll my eyes at what you should do to have children and find the perfect person to settle down with. Don't date or don't talk to these people. Don't and it's always written by people who don't have a family, are unmarried, and it's, I only listen to people on issues of family and marriage now that actually have those things.
Well, there's obviously people who agree with you, and like, so it's, I mean, there's obviously people who agree, and there's truth to everything that you say. So it's not, you know, like, you shouldn't take it. You shouldn't feel bad for putting it out there, because you have definitely.
Oh yeah, there are things I've said that this is the problem. Sorry, I'm interrupting again. I'll let you speak in a second. I just want to get this point out, is people are like, oh, Lauren doesn't believe in anything she's ever said anymore. And then I'll have people on the right that say that, and then people on the left will be like, Lauren still believes all the things she used to say. And it's like, no, I can adjust my beliefs a little without throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I can say, yeah, these statistics are true, but it's more complex than that. There are more factors to that, and we should be less judgmental when addressing these issues. I'd say a lot of my opinions are very similar. Like, for example, with borderless, with immigration, I'm still against mass immigration and illegal immigration, but I actually have a lot more sympathy for the people illegally migrating over, because I realize that they've been completely taken advantage of by human traffickers. They've been told on the media by people and politicians in Europe, we want you here, come here. So it's been an invitation. And then traffickers come up to them and say, hey, for $2,000, I can bring you to paradise. Everyone wants you there. They're going to give you free jobs and money. And this person's like, that sounds great. I would do the same thing in their position. And then they get completely screwed over. They drown in the Mediterranean. They end up in camps. That Moria camp in Greece was so disgusting, so crime-riddled, so horrible. They literally burned it down rather than live in it. This was set up by like Médecins Sans Frontières and all these kind of groups, Doctors Without Borders. They burned it down because they were like, this is so horrible. Why did you bring us here? Yeah, I feel bad for them. They're human beings as well. Does that mean we should completely open our borders and, you know, completely overhaul our cultural beliefs and our systems? No, of course not. But you can still acknowledge people are humans while saying, no, they shouldn't be allowed to just frivolously enter the country. Yeah, so I'd say my views have just gotten more complex, which doesn't, it's not very useful, because people like things to be simplified. They like it black and white. They don't want to hear the complexities, because complexities are confusing and complicated. But that's why Crossfire is a 2-hour documentary, because it's a complex issue. And if you can't deal with complexity, then you can't deal with reality.
Yeah, that's true. Also, I want to read a few of the questions here.
Yep.
That people have, and then also I want to ask you about what you, or if you've planned anything for after Crossfire, which I'm personally interested. But anyway, so Matthew Hammond is asking, does Lauren still have hedgehogs?
I wish. Unfortunately, hedgehogs have a 5-year lifespan. And I adopted them. So one of them was actually like 5 or 6 when I adopted it. That was Beans. And obviously he passed away. And then Porge was a little older and got cancer. So they passed away, but they lived happy lives.
Oh man, I'm sorry. That must have been really hard.
Yeah, it's amazing how much those little guys you can get emotionally attached to.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I think it's like a really unique pet to have, maybe in the future.
Oh, wonderful. They're wonderful pets. I'd absolutely suggest them, but you have to pick them based on personality, because some of them are like, Porge was very shy and he was an anxious eater. He got very obese because he got super anxious, and he'd hiss and like put up his spikes whenever you tried to cuddle him, whereas Beans just wanted to cuddle all the time, super happy. So they actually have different personalities, and you can check them out when you go to meet them at the shops or whatever. So definitely check out their little personalities and see what you're willing to deal with and what's going to work with your lifestyle.
Okay. Cool. Also, Matthew mentions that Shoe on Head has gone full socialist. Who's Shoe on Head?
She's a YouTuber. Actually, I did a video with her ages and ages ago, but she's moved quite left. You know, she's always been kind to me, but it's definitely been unfortunate to see. I think there were like leaks that said, you know, she was just like really slamming conservatives and saying something like very dehumanizing about them. And I just feel like it's, once again, like, I think good people can get caught up in their own internet circles. And just kind of having that feedback loop towards a circle of people they want to impress and are scared of pissing off.
Yeah. It's not healthy. Star Killer wants to know if you were ever told that you look like Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah, I was in an elevator once in Toronto, and I had my film crew with me, so I can see where there would be the confusion. And some guy came up to me and was like, I am a huge fan. And I was like, oh, he must love my movies and my YouTube videos. Can I get a picture? And then what was it? He took a picture with me and he's like, I loved you in the OC or something. What I don't know what movies she's in, but it wasn't anything I'd done. And I was like, wait, who do you think I am? And it was clearly Kristen Dunst that he thought I was. So that was pretty interesting. But it was funny because it would have seemed like it totally was to him, because I acted like, oh yeah, I'll take a picture with you. Of course you want a picture with me because I do videos and stuff. So he would have been like, yeah, this is Kristen Dunst.
That's so funny. I guess like the only time I had an experience like that was people thought I was Huma Abedin. I was at a party in DC, and like 3 people thought I was Huma Abedin, and they were like telling each other like, look who's here. And I thought that they just knew me from Twitter or something because I'm cool or whatever.
I could see that happening. I could see the confusion.
Yeah. So Starkiller also wants to know, are you afraid your thick Canadian accent might slowly transform into an Australian accent?
Oh, I'm already saying mate sometimes, and oh, it's hot as out. So I've got a little bit of Australianisms here and there. But, you know, I've got Canadian accents are actually one of the most neutral accents in the world. So I'm very lucky, and I hope I'm able to retain it to some extent and win over in the accent battle with my son. He's gonna have a weird Australian Canadian accent.
That's so funny. Travis wants to know, if you can give anyone a wedgie, who would it be?
Who really deserves a wedgie? You know, like, I feel like if I said someone really awful, it would be like, okay, but that's not quite enough. So just someone who's like medium awful that needs a wedgie. So really, this is the toughest question you've truly asked me.
This is the kind of question you don't post, but I actually really like this question.
Let me think about the wedgie question. I'll get back to you. It's an important one. I have to make sure I nail that question. I cannot get this wrong. I don't want people to be confused. I want them to know who deserves a wedgie.
So while we're waiting for that, I'm also curious, so after Crossfire, what do you have planned? Because I know you have something planned, but I don't.
Of course I do.
Yeah.
I can't. You know what? I've actually told people documentary ideas I've had in the background behind the scenes, and they've stolen my idea and pretended it was their own, and then pretended I stole the documentary from them. So I don't, like, I'm careful to not tell people what documentaries and projects I'm working on, because it's people act crazy. Like, I've had people take video ideas for me that I've told them about, and I'm like, what? Like, why? So I'm very careful not to mention my ideas too publicly. But yes, of course I have a few ideas. And the next one, Crossfire was important. It needed to happen. There's not enough genuine conversation on the subject. Policing, BLM, Antifa, everything going on in the States right now really needed some clarification in the media manipulation and haze and fog of activist exaggeration. But now that I've got that out of the way, next one I'm absolutely going to be on the ground for. I did not feel engaged enough with this project. Obviously, I was there every day chatting with the team, prepping things, but still, I like to be there on the ground. I like to immerse myself in an issue and really, really, really understand it. So next one all I can tell you is it will be on the ground, and it will be controversial. We don't do just normal stuff with Lauren Southern documentaries. All of them have to ruin my life in some way.
Are you ever gonna like start charging for your documentaries, or make movies that are like, you know, that you
can actually make money because I'm poor as shit? Yeah.
No, I mean, the only reason I asked that is because I'm like obsessed with money. So like it's not you. Like I'm calling that.
That's not a bad idea. You know, I'll sell the thing is, like, I can't violate the promises I make to my donors. But yeah, like, I'll be selling DVDs. Actually, I think the DVD site is going up tomorrow, so people can buy, if they want to go old school, they can buy DVDs of Crossfire. And then my hope, though, is that people will watch this and they'll donate and they'll say, like, this was an important video, and Even though I didn't have to pay for it, I feel that I want more of this content, so I'm going to donate to you anyways. That's my hopes, that people who genuinely believe in what I'm doing will have the heart to try to make more of it happen. Sorry, the cousins are all playing, and my son probably hit his head in the other room while running around.
Oh man, I'll let you go soon. I'll let you go.
Yeah, I do have to go in about 5 minutes here, so.
Okay. Last question. Doug is asking what you would tell 2015 Lauren, and yeah, that's it.
Oh man, what would I tell 2015 Lauren? To not mix my like friendship sphere and personal life so much with my political life, and to keep them completely separate. Because unfortunately, within the political sphere, like very few people want, there are some, I have some very good friends that are still in politics, but so much of the political and personal friendships and stuff just become ways to get more fame and ways to use each other. And like, actually, I'm just, I'm only talking to you and only friends with you because I can use you for some period of time. Like the amount of people that just stopped talking to me, period, when I stepped away from politics was shocking. It was really disappointing, but it was good that I had taken some time to rekindle a lot of my old friendships and relationships with girlfriends that I had from high school, university, before that, because as soon as you're not useful in the political sphere, a lot of friendships just completely disappear. It's sad, but true.
Yeah, I definitely felt that also. And moving me also, like moving to Texas helped for me also.
Yeah, it's been so much, like, it's been so amazing because, also when like crazy stuff happens online, when everything's just a shit show, I just shut off my computer and I'm like, cool, none of it actually exists. I remember it was such a beautiful moment. I was really, really upset because this Atlantic article came out, and I actually really, I really thought this guy who wrote it was friends with me, and he pretended to be, and he used getting close to me to try to like write this big expose that was completely filled with lies from start to finish, literally just made things up about me, took quotes out of context. There are parts of it that I read. I remember my parents texted me after this Atlantic article went viral, and they saw it was like trending on Apple News. And they're like, Lauren, why does this article say we grew up in the richest neighborhood in Vancouver? Like we were poor. My crib was the bathtub. They put blankets in it. And
gosh.
But of course that doesn't fit with the Atlantic narrative because I'm supposed to be white and wealthy. So they just invented this. And I'm like, I don't understand how this guy could know me for 4 years and just lie, just completely invent all these lies. And then I was so upset because I was like, how could this, I was more hurt on a personal level. I've had the media lie about me before, but that this person could like so sociopathically pretend to be friends for so long. And my husband he was like, Lauren, does it, when you shut off your computer screen, none of this stuff exists. We'll go to the park. I'll take you to McDonald's and get you an ice cream cone. We'll go for a walk. And when you walk on the street, no one says this stuff to you in real life. It doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. It's not the real world. And that's a big way I deal with a lot of the cancel culture is, it's as soon as I close my computer, my personal life isn't associated with any of it anymore. I just like, I'm going to leave this interview. Great interview. Great to chat. Love you having me here, but I'm going to go back with my family and none of this is going to exist anymore.
This is.
Oh, hello.
Say hi. Hi.
Hi.
Say hi, Lauren.
Hi.
You are so beautiful.
Yeah, she's almost 3. She walked in while we're doing this.
What a daughter's
timing.
There was like a CNN interview or something. And there have been multiple ones where kids have walked into the room, and one of them, the guy starts screaming at his kid, and he's like, "Get out, get out, get out, get the au pair," and she runs and pulls him out, and it's like that's such a yikes reaction. And there was another guy where he once again just like pulled the kid onto his lap, and you can really tell where someone's priorities are at. Like, are your priorities just your media, like CNN reputation, or are they your family?
Yeah, it's like
I like pink, mommy. I like pink.
Okay, she wants pink. No, I totally agree. And like, it's fun. It doesn't have to be like a weird like nuisance. Like,
absolutely. And this is the thing: if you have kids, you have to integrate them with everything you do in life, every moment. I have been on meetings while I'm like holding my son in my arm, and we're walking around doing the meeting together. You know, I'm sending emails, and he's chewing on my feet, and it's you integrate them into everything you do.
I like pink. I like pink. I like pink.
I do.
I like
I
pink.
do. Okay, you know what? I would give a wedgie to Donald Trump
for why?
Stealing Section 230 while he was in office. Or for not doing more about big tech while he was in office. He deserves a wedgie for that.
Oh, wow. Okay. And he wasn't going to do that? I thought they said they were talking about that he was going to do that.
He's got like a few weeks left to do it. So until he does that, he's my wedgie target.
Yeah. No, that's a pretty good one. And for me, that would be the lockdowns and everything.
All right. I'm sorry. I have to run here because I was given a time slot for
1 hour. Thank you so much.
1 hour thing too. You know what? I remember when I first got into politics, I could do live streams and podcasts. Oh, I literally did one for like 24 hours or something stupid like that. Yeah. Life just does not allow for that anymore. You really have to be meaningful and do things with intention, very intentional with your time. Otherwise you won't have any.
But I'm really honored that you joined us, and thank you so much. And also, like, please come back. And I'm gonna include some of the links that we talked about. I'll include it in the link in the YouTube video for anybody that wants to go back and check.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to chat.
We're excited.
Oh, thank you. It should be up soon. Don't worry, guys. I know I keep saying that, but genuinely this time. All right.
Take care.
Have a good one.